Out walking to my porch in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm out there smoking my little cigar, drinking my coffee, preparing for the caregiving day. And I'm out here before the rain starts. It's going to rain again. Flash flood warnings and all that. We've had a really interesting couple of months here. But today is going to be a busy day. I've got to get my dad up for his medications, hydration, and all that stuff. But I also have to get him cleaned up, undressed and cleaned up, because the nurse called me last night. She's coming out this morning at 10:30 to replace his Foley catheters, indwelling catheter tube that goes up to the bladder. That's an interesting battle that we both have to fight with my father. He doesn't like that to do this, and that's quite evident. So it's going to be an interesting day. So I got to get him done, that ready before she gets here. I got to clean him up totally down there because you don't want contamination when you're inserting that kind of stuff, or try to reduce the amount of contamination. Plus, because my dad wears adult protective underwear, and because he can't wear the adult protective underwear for this procedure, I have to clean him up and then cover that area with a towel, and then I can put his sheets and blanket back on. But by the time the nurse gets here, he may or may not evacuate a little bit out the backside. You don't know, but I have to clean that up when she's here, if that's the case. Gotta get it clean around the whole area. And I had an issue. I discovered that my senior helper has not been cleaning under my father's foreskin like she's supposed to. Maybe she forgot. But that's something we're addressing. It's very important that you clean under the foreskin. My father's had infections and stuff down there that I've had to deal with. I'm not going to get into specifics today, but it's been a battle. And I still have the nurses supposed to come out to check on that, wound care nurse, for the potential things that are there. I also have my father has hearing aids, and the VA provides the hearing aids. But because we have home-based primary care, which means they come out here for almost everything, even for hearing aids. But to get an appointment for hearing aids can take months. To have the audiologist come out. And my it's been a battle for the last 5 months, 6 months. Or one hearing aid will go break, go bad or something. And they put it in a box and send it to the VA, and weeks and weeks and weeks later, you get it back, put it in. Well, I've had an issue with them, the other one will break and you send it off. Even if I took him down to the VA hospital, into the audiological place, and had them do all that too, I'd be just giving them the thing, they'd send it off, they'd get repaired, because of that whole process. So for the past month here, a couple months, I've had it I was sending off, one hearing aid off, say wouldn't charge. They send it back, and it now will charge, but it won't, it has no sound. And then I get the other one breaks and I send it off, and vice versa. We get one back, and it's been an interesting thing. So I called them the other day, or yesterday, and I said, look, there's something wrong with these hearing aids. They've lived their life. I can't keep sending them off, getting them back still broke, or with a different issue. Your dad down to one hearing aid, but now he's down to no hearing aids because both of his hearing aids are broke. I got one off in the shop, and I got one I got to send out to the shop. So I said, we need some new hearing aids. These have lived their life, apparently. But it could be a couple months before we get the appointment for them to come out, because they have to do a hearing test and then put in for it and all that. And that months and months and months before my dad will get hearing aids. Well, my dad cannot go months and months and months without hearing aids. That would be, let me tell you about this. If you've got an elderly person with or without dementia, if they've got hearing aids and they rely on hearing aids and suddenly they don't have hearing aids, that begins to decline because they can't hear anything. They can't find interest in anything. They get depressed because they can't hear, all that other stuff. So you have to nip this kind of stuff in the bud and try to figure out other ways to do it until I can get the permanent solution in. So I ordered off Amazon these temporary hearing aids, and may or may not work, but they can amplify at least. I mean, they're not going to be the design specifically for his hearing loss, but that may help. And if they don't work, I have something that does. I have this thing called a pocket talker. That's the old school kind of thing, where you got the, you know, remember the hearing aids from all you see them in movies, where somebody's got the plug, you know, the ear plug, and then down here, the, you know, like the movie Sister Act, and they got the nun Alma, who plays the piano, and they keep having to tell her, Alma, turn the battery, turn the hearing aid on, battery. And people used to turn it off to save the battery when they weren't interested, and turn it back on. That's basically what this is, but you can hear it like this. Not 100%, but it's a good thing, and this is mine, and this comes in handy for me because I have hearing impairment too. But, so I know this will work. And the battery lasts a long time, by the way. Pocket talker, really good thing. It's not perfect, but it could get us through this period, especially if these don't live up to expectation or aren't as good enough or aren't good enough. So that's what I have to do to try to keep his interest in the world, because without that interest, without that ability to hear the TV, without the ability to hear you, they lose interest in life. You can't go through all this stuff. Now, I was fine with them living on one hearing aid at a time, but that's got to be dealt with ASAP. But it's going to be months and months and months before I can get that. So unless you've got multiple sets of hearing aids, and I suggest if you can get it through the different, you know, the VA or through your medical provider, whenever you're eligible for new hearing aids or your loved one is, get them, and then keep those old ones as backups. Unfortunately, my dad's all of his old ones are old, and not usable. So that's what I did with that. And then I also ordered online a reclining chair, a lounge chair. And I hope that works out too, because my father has a problem now when he's in his seat watching TV. The seats are too low for him to be able to, he can't stand up on his own. So he needs a stand assist. Then you have to move the stand assist and then move his walker so he get on there. So usually he puts his hands up on his walker handles, and I gotta help him stand because he forgets he needs to use his legs too. So I got this reclining chair, lounge chair, with massage, even though he would never want that. But it's also one that will come up and lift you up a bit more so that you can stand up easier. And hopefully that'll work out for him. Because getting him out of the chair to his walker is an interesting experience that takes 4 or 5 tries when I'm getting him ready to go to bed. So, anyway. A lot of allergens in the air. So that's been it's an interesting week I'm having. And, but that's something, you've got to be proactive when you're a family caregiver. You just can't just go with the flow all the time. You got to be proactive about things. And that's how you keep them going longer, or keep them with you longer. And that's just part of the game of life. But caregiving's not a game. It's not. In any case, I hope you have a good week, a good Thursday. Hopefully it doesn't rain on you too much. And I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you again at another time.